I believe it's about time to get our service. Let's all stand in prayer.
Lord, today is so
Lord, I thank you today for this opportunity to be here in your house, Lord. Lord, I ask you, Lord, just to touch this service, Lord, in your
touch
name.
our hearts, touch our lives today. Precious name, Christ. Jesus.
Will our singers come up? bless this offering, Lord, and Lord, just help it to be used to do your will, God. In your name I pray. Amen. Do we have any prayer requests tonight?
Pray for our elder folks that aren't here, pray for everybody else that's not here that we miss so much.
Remember Brother Bill and his shingles.
Yeah.
We need to remember Sister Zelenite, remember the church. Then, as Brother Gary said, all those who ain't here. Let's all pray.
Lord, today,
Lord, I ask you,
thank you
Lord,
today for you.
I thank you, David,
Lord,
for
it's
the
all
opportunity to
God.
be here in your house. Lord, I thank you for your mercy. Lord, I thank you for your
Lord,
grace.
today, you touch Brother
Lord, I
Bill.
thank you for everything you've ever
Minister
done.
to him.
Lord, I ask you today, Lord, just touch every need across this building.
Lord, I pray
Lord, touch
today.
his head, Lord. Lord, just heal it, Lord.
God,
And Lord, I ask you today, Lord.
oh, God, just a
Lord,
minute.
touch all these folks that ain't here today, Lord. Lord, heal them, Lord. Lord, Brother Dale,
Oh,
sing,
God.
Lord. Lord, just heal them. And Lord, I ask you, Lord, just touch all these people that have COVID, Lord. Lord, I ask you just touch our country today, Lord. In your name
That's minister to them, Lord. Precious, precious.
I pray. Lionel, will you come sing? good to be back behind the pulpit. It's been a pretty good bit since I preached, but I'd been planning an entirely different sermon until about a month ago. And then I started praying more and more because I learned that I was going to have the opportunity to preach pretty soon. So I started praying more and more about it, and then I feel like God pointed me towards to preach a message more towards creation than my originally intended message. So tonight I'm going to open up with Hebrews 3 and 4. Give y'all a little time to get turned there. For every house is builded by some man, and he that built all things is God. Well, interestingly enough tonight, none of my verses I think are out of Genesis. No, none of them are out of Genesis, but it's about realizing one of the things you have to believe in as a Christian is God's creation. That is something the Jews and the Christians, the Jews, Christians, and Muslims all have that in common. They all believe in the same God. The Jewish don't believe the Messiah has came yet. The Muslims believe the Messiah was Muhammad. And the Christians know the Messiah was Jesus. But we all serve the same God. And we all believe this, that God was the man who built the world and everything. God was the one. Well, if God made the world, He made people. He made everything there was to be. Science will tell you that the world is over 4 billion years old. Biologically, though, the world is only around 10,000 years old. Which also science states that in the Big Bang, all the matter that was ever created and ever will be was created. But also, if you look into the same beliefs, matter cannot be created nor destroyed. Whereas, as a Christian, we believe God created all things. We believe matter can be created and destroyed, but only by God, not by man. So, science turns itself back around on it. Science just collapses its own building. Pretty much. And when God created the world, He started with the seas and then all the life that was in them. And then He worked His way up to the land and everything that was on the land, and day and night. I probably don't have those in the right order, but I know on the sixth day, God created those creatures of the land, and He created man. He created Adam in His own image. And then we turn back over to John 1 and 1 through 2. And it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. Okay, the Word always was, always will be, and always is. The Word has been with God since He created the world, since before He created the world, since before He created anything. The Word was with God, right there. He had a plan. He knew what was going to happen. And some people may question, okay, if God is real and He knew what was going to happen, why would He have created us if He knew we were just going to turn against Him? Well, the Bible really doesn't talk about why He created us. It just says He created us in His image. One of my things is maybe God was starting to feel a little lonely. You know, sometimes we feel lonely at times, like we're alone out there. Maybe that's what happened with God. Is He had created the angels because He was alone, and then the angels just weren't there. And He decided, this is the risk worth taking to create man to not be alone. Well, so God created man. He created Adam in His own image. But then He realized Adam was alone. Besides having God, Adam had none. So He created Eve. And then Satan, Lucifer, who used to be the head of all the angels, God's right-hand man, went to hell because God had banished him to hell because he wanted God's power. He wanted to overthrow God. Well, Satan tempted Eve into eating the fruit of life, and she did. And then she let Adam. This released sin into the world. And so, also along with this, when you look at it, there was no death before Eve ate that fruit. There was no death, there was no sin. Childbirth was painless. So, when Eve ate that fruit, she then allowed not only sin, but death and pain to come into the world. Her and Adam both were banished from the garden, along with anyone that would ever be. I know I'm not on a real straight track on everything. I'm sorry about that, but this is what I felt I needed to preach on. Then turn over to Psalms 12 and 8. Oh, not 12 and 8, 124 and 8. Read my notes wrong. Our help is in the name of the Lord, who made heaven and earth. There it is again. Just going back. God created earth. God created heaven. God created everything that there will be and ever. And He can create more at His will. He can destroy it all at His will. But He chooses to let us continue to walk. He chooses to give us freedom over what we do. He gave us our own minds instead of making us focus on only Him. He gave us our own freedoms to choose what path we walk down. Because, sin is almost like a cake. And then the righteous way is almost like all these healthy foods. That cake, it's going to look really delicious. But if you have too much of it, and not enough healthy food to go with it, after it, you're going to regret it. Trust me, I know, anytime I eat too much of any sweets, or anything in general, but the healthy foods it takes more of, my stomach starts to hurt. I regret it. I get a headache. And
And, you know, sin and righteousness are kind of the same way. Except, you know, you're never going to regret it with righteousness. Sin, you get too much of it, and then you don't ever replace it with righteousness and ask for forgiveness. You're going to regret it. There's no way to change that. I had someone message me earlier today. They messaged me on one of my Instagram accounts. They said their grandpa had passed away and they wanted to know. And they said he was a Christian, a good Christian. They said he was a preacher. He was a minister of the word in his younger days. Until he got sick and couldn't do it anymore. And they wanted to know, though, how to be forgiven. And they asked me, can I just die and go to heaven and ask there? And I told them, once you're dead, it's done. It's already too late. You cannot ask for forgiveness once you're gone, once you're dead. Because once you are gone, if you were not in the Lord when you died, then you don't go to heaven. You don't get that. You don't get a second chance after you're gone. You don't get another chance. If you weren't living for God already, it's just over. And some people believe there's more than one way to heaven. There's only one way to heaven. There's only one way to meet God. And whether that means riding an altar or praying every day of your life, which I think are both good ideas. Even though I don't come up here and pray at the altar very often, I normally stay at my seat. The altar is wherever you make it. But if you ain't praying every day and staying in track, you won't make it. There's no way. It says that in the Bible, that they're not in these exact words, but it does say along the lines of there's only one way to heaven. There's nothing faster than a straight line, is what almost anyone will tell you. And that's true. You can't take all these side roads and still get to heaven. You have to stay on the straight main road to make it. Or you won't make it. There's just no way to make it. If you do not stay on the straight road, you can take all these side roads and have all your fun, but you won't make it to heaven if you do. And let me tell you, it's going to be a lot better in heaven than it will be after you take all them side roads. You know, like driving. You can take all them side roads and have fun until you tear your vehicle up. You know, the main roads are a lot less likely to tear your vehicle up as long as you keep it taken care of. You take these side roads, you're bound to hit something, get stuck, break something. You stay on the straight road, the only way you're hitting something is if it's a deer that decided to jump across the road, or you lose control and decide, maybe that side road was a little too much, and you're looking way back here wishing you'd gone down that side road and jerked the wheel into the trees. But, you know, then, you know, you have them people that'll say, okay, there couldn't have been dinosaurs. Okay, well, turn over to the book of John, 40 and 17. I can't even remember where these books are at. I know it's not there. I'll just read it off here. John 40, 17 through 18. Its tail sways like a cedar. The sinews of its thighs are close-knit. Its bones are tubes of bronze. Its limbs like rods of iron. Sounds pretty much like a dinosaur to me. I mean, what else tail sways like a cedar, like a cedar. A treater. I didn't know that was a word, but. And its thighs are close knit. Its bones are hollow. So, like most birds, their bones are hollow. And we get told all the time, birds are the closest living relatives of dinosaurs. And its limbs like rods of iron. Strong, sturdy. Sounds like a dinosaur to me. The key is, though, the reason that it doesn't ever talk about dinosaurs in the Bible using the word dinosaur. The word dinosaur wasn't even around until 1841. And, okay, also science will say that, okay, science says that the world is 8 billion years old. Okay, I had my stuff off there when I was saying that earlier. But it's 8 billion years old. But yet, no, it is 4 billion years old. I'm getting all mixed up in my notes. I'm sorry, but it's 4 billion years old, according to science, and there are more than 8.7 million species of animals on the planet. Well, you look at this, the likelihood of one animal species becoming another is around about 1 in 1 million of a chance. You times 8.7 million by 1 million. The world's going to be more than 80 billion years old if you do that. So the same science again overlaps itself. But Christianity, bibliologically, the world's 10,000 years old. Science says dinosaurs went extinct over 166 million-ish years ago. Or came into existence, one of the two. But the earth ain't that old, according to the bibliological standpoint. The world's only 10,000 years old. Dinosaurs, at most, went extinct 4,000 years ago. At most. And I don't believe it was that long ago. But God created them, and that science says that this big, huge catastrophe ended it all. But since science keeps overlapping itself and causing itself to collapse, but Christianity, the Bible, this Bible right here, it doesn't overlap itself once. You could read the whole thing through and through. It will not overlap itself and cause itself to collapse. It will not cause its own words to collapse. They call Christians or anyone who has a religion a theist. Christians ain't theists because ours isn't based on theory. Ours is based on the truth. The truth of this book right here. Without this, no one would know about God. No one would know about how to walk the righteous path, what the righteous path is. No one would know that all the sins that it talks about in this book are wrong. No one would know God existed. No one would know Jesus existed, except for the people of that time. No one would know the Holy Ghost was around. There'd be no one filling churches. The churches probably wouldn't even be here. Now, synagogues, they might be here because that was of that time. Those were something that was around at the time. Churches, there might be a few. But Christianity would not be near as well known without this Bible. If God had never sent the Word down to the writers of this Bible, Christianity would be pretty much dead. Almost every Christian in the world would be gone if there was not this book. I think I have one more verse tonight. I'm not sure. No, I do not. But tonight, I don't know who God intended that message for. But my personal belief is that every message is intended for someone. Whether they're in this church, listening on the radio, or watching the live stream, or watch the live stream later. God has this message intended for someone. And I'm hoping this message reaches out to them and touches their heart and touches their soul. Because I've done my part. I've witnessed. I witnessed to almost anyone that I talk to. You can ask most of the people that I've ever messaged. I've witnessed to them at some point or another. Most of my classmates I've witnessed. Because if someone ends up in hell and you didn't witness to them, then you're just as guilty of their sins as they are. Now, if you were not aware of this, I think God does forgive. I do. If you were not aware of this, of that part of the Bible, I think that He does forgive that. But I'm closing. And just remember, God created all things. God is the creator. The Word was with God and the Word was God. So, in closing, I'm going to turn it back over to my grandpa. And everyone stay safe and stay away from this virus.